What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Feud. I am Stone with Mason and Paul as usual, and today we are talking about our Monday medals, the top performers and the worst performers of the week 14 in the NFL. But before we get into things today, I want to ask if you guys could like the video. If you enjoy it, comment down below who some of your best performers and medal winners would have been, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video today. I'm going to keep that short and sweet. We're just going to get straight into things today. Start with the Gunslinger Award. I'm just going to fly through the first few honorable mentions in 3 and 2. We'll talk about number 1. Honorable mentions, we had Justin Herbert and Tom Brady. Tom Brady had 31, 46, 363 yards, 2 touchdowns, 30 fantasy points because he had a rushing touchdown. And Justin Herbert had 275 yards and 3 touchdowns. And the reason Tom Brady isn't, up there for number 1 and 2 is because he had that rushing touchdown. And that also brings me to talk about Josh Allen, who's an honorable mention. 17 of his fantasy points were due to rushing 109 yards and a touchdown. So, the Gunslinger Award, we're talking about what they did in the air, not necessarily what they did on the ground, not just quarterback in general, but what they did in the air. So, going on to number 3, we got Joe Burrow, 348 and 2 touchdowns. His performance was pretty good in that fourth quarter. Like, I think that's alone what solidified him being on this list. Joe Burrow showed grit in that fourth quarter to come back and almost beat San Francisco, a really good team. And then Ben Roethlisberger at number 2 did the exact same thing with 308 yards and 3 touchdowns and a pick. He had 25 fantasy points. The exact same thing. Every single stat he got was in that fourth quarter and almost brought and willed his team back to a comeback. A team that really had no reason to be in that game in the first place. They were just getting smoked the whole time.
So that was awesome.
Good job by
I
Ben.
do want to say real quick, they probably would have had a really good shot actually they did have a shot because Pat Freiermuth did drop a touchdown in the end zone. But
baby.
Chase Claypool decided he wanted to mess around and do a little celebration for a first down with the clock ticking on 30 seconds. So
yeah,
we'll leave that at that.
Incredible.
Like you said, we'll leave that at that. Number 1, Aaron Rodgers, 341 yards, 4 touchdowns. He owns us, baby, and by us I mean me and Paul because we are Bears fans. Woo! Give a round of applause to Robert Quinn for doing a discount double check when he got a sack. And then we lose 45-30.
It's all part of it.
I cry every time we play Aaron Rodgers.
It's okay.
I was so happy at the beginning of the year when they talked about him possibly leaving Green Bay. 'Cause I'm like, we finally have a chance. And just like always, he crushed my heart, destroyed my soul. And that's the same thing he did with that fourth quarter drive. Had a chance to tie it up. Matt Nagy's an absolute idiot. He goes down with 1/2 yard to go or something. He decides to punt the ball to Aaron Rodgers for a 10-minute drive to ice the game. That's just Aaron Rodgers. There's nothing else to say.
That is what it is, sir.
You can't say anything about Aaron Rodgers at this point other than he is, one of the best to ever do it. I mean, even as a Bears fan, I hear Bears fans saying Rodgers ain't even that good. I'm like, okay, well, you're a moron because Aaron Rodgers is easily one of the most talented quarterbacks to ever live, period. I don't care what anyone says.
100%.
That's coming from a Bears fan.
He's doing all this on basically half a foot.
Yep.
That's not even a joke. That's not even a joke.
Crazy.
His broken pinky toe or whatever, he can't put pressure on it.
And fun
Said
fact,
they can't numb it too much because then he can't throw and feel it. It's crazy what he's doing.
I would say Josh Allen's kind of in that same boat now because he has turf toe now too. So we're gonna see what he can do with the hurt foot as well. So, but yeah, Aaron Rodgers, absolute MVP candidate. He's at this point catching up to Tom Brady. It feels like Tom Brady had another good week, so who knows? We'll see what the MVP odds look like this Wednesday. So we're gonna move on to weekend workhorse. We have about 1,000 honorable mentions here because there's always guys every week that blow up. So we'll just go through all the honorable mentions first. You got Melvin Gordon, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara in his return to the Saints, 120 yards, touchdown, 4 catches, 25 yards. Jamar Chase, 5 catches, 77 yards, 2 touchdowns. Najee Harris, 94 yards, a touchdown, 3 catches, 10 yards, and another touchdown on top of that in the receiving game. And Mark Andrews, 11 catches, 115 yards, and a touchdown. But our top 3 would be Tyler Lockett, 5 catches, 142 yards, and a touchdown. Tyler Headache, we've been calling him all year. He's that huge play-dependent guy, and he sure got that 40-yard touchdown. So, I mean, he's been having pretty good games outside of the huge touchdowns recently, though. I'll give him that. Number 2, Devontae Adams. He also owns the Bears ever since he's been in the league. 10 catches, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Bears just don't really mind covering him, I guess. They kind of just let him do his own thing whenever he plays them. I don't know.
They can't cover him.
They can't cover
Devontae
him.
Adams, I believe, was held scoreless and catchless in the first quarter.
Yep, he was.
Oh.
And
That's a win for the Bears.
And then he
that
absolutely
through three
smoked
quarters.
us the rest of the game. So it didn't really matter.
All that through three quarters.
But
Because all they had to do is give it to Aaron Jones.
But our weekend workhorse winner of the week is George Kittle. 13 catches, 151 yards, and a touchdown, 34 fantasy points. He did it again. He was our hero last week. He's now the workhorse of the week. Almost the hero of the week for 2 straight weeks, honestly. I would have definitely considered him for that spot. So, George Kittle, man.
We'll say he was up for probably number 2, very close number 2. Number 1 is obviously clear number 1 for a reason once we get to him. But after yesterday's performance of 151 yards and a touchdown, George Kittle is now the only NFL tight end in history to have 4 career games of 150 yards and a touchdown. Breaking Shannon Sharp's record. That's pretty incredible.
George Kittle's on beast mode right now. I don't know, like,
Yeah.
he just came off this injury, dude. He has been straight killing it. The guy is amazing. I love watching him play, dude. He plays with so much energy, and he's got so much heart and passion, dude. I freaking love the guy, dude.
He is back. I love Kittle, man. He's my favorite tight end in the league, easily. I love his personality and his blocking, his receiving, just everything about him, man. What's not to love about George Kittle, honestly? I mean,
agreed.
That the whole
Over
argument
that
of
2-game span. All right, go ahead.
I was gonna say that whole argument of Kittle and Kelsey's back, baby. George Kittle's reignited that flame.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what his stats were last week catch-wise, but I mean, I think it's close to 24 or 25 receptions for like 334 yards and 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games. That is bananas.
He's
like
an absolute monster.
He's just passed most of the tight ends in the league within the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
All right. So
That's crazy.
Moving on from them, we're going to go to the Underdogs. I don't know if you guys have much to say about these guys, but we got Jakeem Grant, who had 24 fantasy points. Absolutely out of nowhere. Punt return for a touchdown and 46 yards on 1 catch for a touchdown. Definitely, I don't think anybody was starting Jakeem Grant, so we don't have to really talk much about him. Hunter Renfrow, 13 catches, 117 yards and a touchdown. At this point, not even an underdog, man. I've been telling you guys for weeks now to pick him up and play him and start him in your flex every week. Like I was that guy, I picked him up like week 2.
Derek Carr's only target halftime. Derek Carr's just like Hunter Renfrow. Hunter
Renfrow's good, man. Hunter Renfrow gets open on every play. He gets open. He's so good. And then our underdog of the week, the winner, was Rashad Penny, who expected that on 16 carries for 137 yards, 2 touchdowns, 26.8 fantasy points. Man, that is not expected at all.
Guys, in our NFC West breakdown that we did at the beginning of the year, I had Rashad Penny as like a breakout candidate this year because he lost weight. He came in as this is a contract year for him. And I was like, oh man, Rashad Penny could be that dude this year. No, he hasn't done anything until now. Go Rashad Penny. Good job, buddy.
Yeah.
I want to say real quick, I think this might be a curse of AP being signed places. Goes to Tennessee, and they have Dontrell Hilliard and Donta Foreman both break out and keep that roster spot. He gets booted. Now gets signed by the Seattle Seahawks. Rashad Penny breaks out instead of Alex Collins, and AP is probably going to get booted again. And Rashad Penny's going to probably run this back for the rest of it. Or this might just be a one and done, and he's going to go back to irrelevance like normal. Hopefully it's not the latter, but
I'll tell you right now, Rashad Penny definitely should be like one of your number 1 targets in waiver wires if you're going into the playoffs and don't have running backs. That's for sure. That guy, he looked good. Moving on to the Fantasy Zero category, we got Dak Prescott, who seems to just either live in the Gunslinger Awards or the Fantasy Zero category week in, week out. This week he chose Fantasy Zeros again. 211 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks against Washington football team. I think they were ranked dead last in the pass game for fantasy quarterbacks.
30th, I believe. 30th in the league in the pass game.
Dak managed 10 points. He got saved by his defense in that game, to be honest. They had no business being in that game ever. Micah Parsons, man. He won them that game with that strip sack. I think that was kind of like the deciding factor right there. That's where things went bad for Washington, and then the deficit was too much to come back from. So, number 2. Didn't even have to change a single stat for this one. Travis Kelce, once again, 3 catches, 27 yards, 5.7 fantasy points. Literally nothing changed. The exact same stat line. So we decided to leave him at number 2, too. We just did not touch him at all. Just left him there. He's good. Can't believe that. Coming down the stretch in the playoffs, you got Travis Kelce not even managing more than 6 fantasy points 2 straight weeks. Are you guys scared if you have him in the playoffs? No, he's Travis Kelce. So
I mean, I'm kind of scared, but yeah.
I'm scared if
you
you got the
gotta
number
trust him.
one guy on this list, Antonio Gibson. That's the scary one.
Yeah.
36 yards, 2 catches, 10 yards, and a fumble, 4.1 fantasy points. He's sadly the fantasy zero of the week. He's been on a tear recently, and then he fumbles the ball, so Ron Rivera, as the bad coach that he is, decides you're done playing, and then they lose. So it's just kind of a
I
reoccurrence.
mean, I understand because Antonio Gibson leads the league in fumbles with 6 at this point. Um, but he is one of your bright spots of this offense. He is your best running back on this team. I get trying to prove a point to him after a fumble like that in a crucial moment or game. But you can't deject his confidence like that where you go sit him for multiple series and you got guys out there like Jonathan Williams running the ball and Jarrett Patterson. Like Jarrett Patterson's a rookie. He's a great player. I don't want to take anything away from Jonathan Williams either, but Jonathan Williams never should have had a touchdown. He shouldn't have been out there outscoring Antonio Gibson by 7 fantasy points. Like he had one drive where they just fed him the ball. Run, and then he scores a touchdown. He gets all of his points on one single possession, one drive, all because Ron Rivera is like, oh, you fumbled, at the pine. Like, that's not going to help him. You have to make sure he has the confidence to continue playing. And as of right now, if I'm Antonio Gibson, I would be struggling not to check myself out mentally in this offense just because of how much they've shown that they don't want to rely on him, that they don't want to lean on him. They want to go other places. They don't want to run the ball. They want to pass it. They want to do this and that. And I take nothing away from Taylor Heineke, but he's a game manager for a
Yeah,
reason.
exactly. I do want to
Oh,
say.
you're 100% right.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I just want to say Antonio Gibson, man. You check these game scripts that Washington has. If they use him, they win. If they don't use him, they don't win. So,
Yeah.
10 carries is not enough for Antonio Gibson. I don't care what defense he's playing against. It's not enough. He needs more than that. I don't get it. We said this way earlier in the year too. We were questioning Ron Rivera's coaching just because he wouldn't use Antonio Gibson. They started using him. They started winning. They didn't use him last game. They lost.
Poor coaching.
Correlation.
Zero buy-in from the players. I don't care that he fumbles. Show Gibson that you have confidence in him. Sports psychology 101. He's been a coach in this game forever. I don't care.
Same with James Robinson. You can hear him in James Robinson deserves to be on this category as well. We didn't even talk about him. He's definitely an honorable mention with his 6 touches that he had. It's the exact same thing. He fumbled last week, and he's just not in the offense anymore. Give the guy confidence. Yeah. He's a stud running back. I don't get it. It's just bad coaching all around, man. Give your guys confidence, like Mason said.
That's a completely different story, though, with Urban Meyer, and you'll be able to see
Check
that
our other video.
We've already posted.
Check the video that we posted earlier today about Urban Meyer if you want to hear more about that disaster. But we're going to move on to our regrettables. We'll start with Mason. Do you want to talk about your regrettable start of the week?
Well, in a couple leagues, I was just destroyed by running back this week, guys. I'm talking Michael Carter's out. Elijah Mitchell's out. I've got Tony Pollard goes out. I've got Miles Sanders on bye. I've got Jonathan Taylor on bye. I'm decimated at running back. And my only option is a couple guys on the waiver wire. I'm like, okay, Jamar Jefferson. He's kind of electric. Jamal Williams goes out with COVID or whatever. And I'm just like, I'm going to throw him in just on a flyer. Well, on my leagues, I started him in 2 leagues, actually. He got me 0 points in both the leagues. I'm just like, well, that was awesome. But I won in one of the leagues, so don't really care that much.
All right, moving on to Paul. Who you got, man?
Getting into mine, Darnell Mooney. I mean, I don't want to say he's expected to produce week in and week out, especially when there isn't really a lot of receiving options to help take the pressure off him. John Robinson's been out for 3 weeks in a row. He just came back last night. 2 catches for 14 yards or something stupid like that. Again, can't incorporate him into the offense. Jakeem Grant, Damari Bird, they killed it for us. But Darnell Mooney, 1 catch for 19 yards, and then just nothing. It wasn't for a lack of trying. I know Justin Fields tried to target him a couple times. But the secondary for Green Bay is actually pretty solid. Rasul Douglas has been on a tear 2 weeks in a row, pick 6 for that team. Eric Stokes is an amazing rookie corner, taking over for Jari Alexander. I mean, it's one of those things. That defense made all the good plays that Justin Fields had, still made him look like a rookie quarterback, and him trying to move, get the ball around. Um, I mean, Russell Douglas, he sat there and read the eyes of Justin Fields entirely. Didn't look away from him
Six
the
six.
entire play. As soon as it was snapped, he was staring right at Darnell Mooney. Obviously, Mooney didn't try to break back for the ball to come back to actually get it to help his quarterback like most receivers do. Rasul Douglas took it to the house. So yeah, Mooney's definitely my pick for this week.
I'm gonna talk about my guy for like 3 seconds because we've talked about him a lot here recently. Cortland Sutton, this poor guy is just not even a part of the offense at this point. His day this week could have been highlighted by not playing on the first down to let Demaryius Thomas take his spot pretty much, and that amazing tribute to Demaryius Thomas. I'm glad that Denver just smoked the Lions this week just to kind of like tribute to him. Poor Lions, of course, had to be on the receiving end of that of all the teams, but rest in peace, Demaryius Thomas, man. Absolute legend. Loved him. One of my favorite receivers.
Yes, sir.
Definitely one of my favorite receivers growing up, man. I had him in fantasy for so long. Love that guy.
Yep.
But
real quick, I want to try. I'm sorry to interrupt you. If you guys are watching this video, will you please try to get this trending? One of the greatest fantasy team names in the history, Demarius Targaryen. At the time, God. DT was one of the greatest wide receivers in the league, one of the best fantasy players. And Game of Thrones was at its peak. If we can bring that back, if we can get that name trending and people start making it their team name again, I think that'd be an amazing tribute to DT.
That would. I love that, dude. I love that.
I thought Cortland Sutton would actually pick up for DT, like just kind of like have the game for him kind of thing. But he's still, once again, not involved in the offense whatsoever. So he's my regrettable of the week. 1 catch, 9 yards.
It's the running back show over there.
Yeah, it's not much to say at this point. Sutton's not going to be involved in the offense for the rest of the year, it seems like. Poor guy. Ultra talented, just won't get involved.
Until they bring over Russ Wilson.
Yes. Yeah, sure. That works.
Or Aaron Rodgers. Who knows?
That is also true. Who knows? We'll see this offseason what happens there. If he'll be what's the word I'm looking for? Viable again. So, moving on to the fantasy hero of the week. Last guy. It's expected if you watch the Thursday night game. Dalvin Cook had 205 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Added on pretty much a game-stealing catch for 17 yards.
Crazy.
35.2 fantasy points in a game that he wasn't even supposed to play in. Dalvin Cook easily easily the hero.
My dude.
Yeah.
His shoulder was messed up, and he came back within like 11 days, and he's playing.
I heard he was wearing a sling under the uniform, wasn't he? He was wearing some sort of sling.
He was. He had to.
Man,
he had to. That injury was. I don't know. He played his butt off.
The last time he had a sling. Last time he had a sling under his uniform, it was like a few years ago. They said he had like 140 yards and 2 touchdowns against whoever it was in the playoffs. So
it's the sling.
It's
sling.
Sling Cook.
Just gonna wear it.
But I don't know if you guys got anything more to say on him at all. That happened a while ago. It was Thursday, so everybody knows by now what happened.
No, I'm just mind blown. Like I was like hats off to Dalvin Cook for being able. He kind of reminded me of Emmitt Smith. One time, Emmitt Smith. It was a very serious playoff game. Emmitt Smith dislocated his shoulder, and the team he was like, I'm gonna play. Put it in a sling. The dude went out there, killed it. All right. He'd get tackled, and he would need people to pick him up because his shoulder hurt so bad. But he'd get that ball, and he would just pound it into the ground, man. Yeah. And that's the first thing I was reminded about when Dalvin Cook's out there just killing it, guys. I was just so excited to see that.
Definitely one of the star running backs in the NFL. There's not even a doubt in anybody's mind at this point about that. But that's all we got today for Metal Monday, guys. Thank you for sticking around. If you listen to the whole thing, like the video if you enjoyed it, comment down below some of the medals that you would have had, like I said in the beginning. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. We post fantasy information like this each and every single day. A couple of extra tidbit things like the Urban Meyer thing that we did earlier today. And we're going to start streaming here on Saturdays, just live streams to kind of communicate with you guys, the fans. And
let's go.
Just get some, help you guys get some insight on some of your things, get it more personalized instead of just, making these topics ourselves. This is it for the video. I'm going to give things over to Mason, and he is going to break us out of here today.
Fantasy out, baby. Let's go.